Hey, this is Danielle from Black Business Boom and Black Owned Nashville, and I'm really excited to be coming to you guys today. We have representatives from the Tennessee State Office of the Small Business Administration, and they are going to be telling us about the changes to the EIDL or EIDL, we call it both apparently, and how they may impact your business being able to get a loan from the government in a good or bad way. I don't know all the details, so we're going to be learning here together. But we have LaTanya Channel here with us, and she is the head lady in charge at the Tennessee District Office of the Small Business Administration. LaTanya, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Danielle. And so glad for your hosting us again. You've been our ride or die through the COVID support that SBA has for small businesses. So we thank you for taking time out
Oh,
again to bring us
absolutely.
on.
Well, I'm telling you, I'm not going to let Black folks miss out on this money. I'm like, however we can get this information out to the community, I'm happy to, because it's been very hard for folks to navigate and understand all of the different programs and how to prepare for them, how to get the paperwork done. And luckily, by having you guys as a partner, it's really allowed me to hear from folks that they're getting funded and they're getting the money, and it's helping them with their businesses. So I'm really happy to get this information out to the community. And before we jump on in with the presentation, if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments. We're going to make sure that we try to get to all of them before we wrap up today. But it's really important that our community, our small businesses, nonprofits, our churches, everybody tune in, get this information. So tag somebody, share this video. It's live on all my pages. So if it's not private from where you're looking at right now, it's private somewhere. I'm sorry, it's public somewhere. So go ahead and share it. So again, we have LaTanya Channel here from the SBA office here in Tennessee. LaTanya, tell us a little bit about the changes that are going on right now with the EIDL loan.
Absolutely, Danielle. And I just want to quickly mention when you said we got to get this information out to Black folks, a lot of people don't realize that most of the programs that SBA has in place were started to support Black folks, particularly to support Black businesses. Now, granted, over time, things have morphed and changed, and larger businesses get access to our programs because they're considered small. But always remember, in my heart and in my staff's heart and in the administrator's heart, our job is to make sure the smallest of the small businesses, which typically in the African American community, we're talking about mom and pops and we're talking about sole proprietors, get access to this information. So we're going to keep it coming. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring back my staff on. Jacqueline Merritt and Lindsay Gilmore are going to be with you today to give you the ins and outs. But real quick, here's what I want you to know, what I want people to jot down and remember. First of all, December 31st, 2021. I'm going to say it again. December 31st, 2021 is the date you must have your money in your hand. In order to get EIDL, EIDL, we do say it both ways, Danielle. In order to get EIDL, to get the EIDL or EIDL to you, that means if your application has been started before December 31st, is in process before December 31st, is in reconsideration before December 31st, you requested an increase before December 31st. If you don't have your money in your bank account deposited by midnight, not sure if it's Eastern time, but probably December 31st, you are not going to get that EIDL loan. So we need you to start now. Here's the second thing, which lines up with the first thing. The reason why we want you to start now, because all of the negatives and the concerns about the delays and the backlogs and the repeated requests for documents and how many times do I have to do a 4506 are true. I'm going to be fully honest with you. The process has been daunting. The process has been confusing. The process has been frustrating. But here's what I can also share with you is that SBA headquarters out of DC has told us they're going to fix the process, and it's going to be fixed really soon. They're going to fix the information that you're getting when you call that 800 number. And they're also going to give us, like Jackie and Lindsay and myself and the rest of the team, better information when you're trying to figure out what the heck is going on with my application. What do I need to do? I've been declined for unverifiable information, and I don't know what that means. So change is coming on the processing end. So I'm going to let Lindsay lead us today to give you the actual changes to the program itself. But I just want to assure you, don't be discouraged and don't apply because you're hearing this. It's just so frustrating.
Yeah.
It is. We are government. I'm sorry. It can be, but it's going to get better. And please start now because December 31st is approaching fast. So I'm going to jump off because it's important that you hear what the changes are. Lindsay's going to lead us and Jackie's going to help her out today. These are the two folks that everyone on here can reach out to after this as well, because you know we're here to support you. We're here to support our community. We're here to support the state of Tennessee because we want you to get these loans. Okay?
Thank you so much,
Danielle.
Latanya. And I just want to quickly say, you know, how much representation matters and how important it is that we have a Black woman as our district director here in Tennessee State. And we appreciate you because you go out of your way to make sure that our community is being involved and getting the information. So from the Black community here, Black business community specifically here in Tennessee and in the Nashville area, we want to thank you so much for being in your position and making sure that we're included. So drop some thank yous in the comments for Latanya and show her some great appreciation. We appreciate you for arranging this. And thank you again. We're going to jump on in now with the changes. Thanks, Latanya. All right, Lindsay, you are up. And
hey, everybody. I am curious. I'm not that familiar with StreamYard. So am I going to share down here at the bottom, share my screen?
Yeah.
Because I want to go through a PowerPoint presentation with everyone, a couple slides, if that's okay.
Yep, that'd be great.
Okay. All right.
You should have access to do that. And lots of thank yous in the comments for Latanya, who has been really amazing for us there. All righty. So
hey, everybody, can you see a blue SBA slide? Are we good?
I think we can see it.
Okay, great. So I'm going to advance through these slides and try not to read them to you too much, but I want to.
And before you start, give me 1 second, Lindsay, before you start. Anyone who's tuning in right now, she's going to go through the presentation. It can be a lot of information. I know we're midday right now. So if you need to go back and catch this, it is on the Black Business Boom Facebook page. It'll also be on the Black Business Boom YouTube page. So for anyone who has to jump off and needs to come back and get the information, it's being recorded and will be live immediately following this on all of the Black Business Boom pages. All right, now take it away, Lindsay.
Oh, no problem. And would Jackie be able to share our contact info, Danielle, in the chat?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and I will as well.
Okay, thank you. So, hi, everyone. I'm Lindsay Gilmore with Economic Development at the district office here with SBA, and I'm going to be assisted a great deal by Jacqueline Merritt. So some of you may be familiar with the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. Some of you might be the first time that you're going to hear about it. So I'm just going to do my best to go over all of these slides. We have about 8 of these to cover, just to give you a background on what EIDL is, what it's sometimes called, or EIDL, just to get you familiarized with this, and also just to make you aware of some changes. So this is, of course, in response to the pandemic with COVID-19, and this is nothing like the Paycheck Protection Program or PPP, where you were doing your application process through a lender. This is not one of those situations. It's more of a streamlined process. You will submit your application online. You're available to do this paper, fax, email, mail it in if you need, but this is more of a streamlined process, and it's going to be a generous term of 3.75% interest. Okay, let me repeat that, 3.75% interest, okay? And it's going to be over a 30-year term for you to start, paying this back over time, but you're also going to have that 24 months, 2 years deferment before you start making the payment. You will be accruing that interest of the 3.75%, along the way, but you will at a minimum have 2 years 24 months deferment. Okay. So this is for the reduced repayment burden. So with these 30 years, there's 2 years deferment, and this is to be able to give you the opportunity to pay back the loan with a significantly smaller payment. So for example, if you were funded $10,000 through EIDL, your monthly payment would be less than $50 per month. Initially, there wasn't so much leeway allowed on the use of funds and, basically how you can spend the money. But now we are able to relax that a little bit. So you can use these funds on your normal operating expenses, working capital, and including paying off your business debt. Okay. And this would be some credit cards. Some business owners, unfortunately, while they were waiting, if they applied for EIDL last year in 2020 and also applied for PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program that I mentioned, sometimes they had to rely on their credit cards to just make ends meet, just not for the business, but their personal lives as well. So initially, you weren't able to use those funds for the credit cards, and now that you can. So we also have the accessible application, right? Again, as I mentioned with PPP, and I'm bringing up PPP because sometimes these two funding options, they get confused, right? So there is no external financial institution, no lender. Just give that application to us here at SBA. So here are some of the policy changes, and make note that these are recent, September 8th, okay? So it's an increased cap of $500,000 to $2 million. So you're able to have access to a higher borrowing capacity. But please keep in mind, just because the max is $2 million doesn't mean that you can outright ask for the $2 million. Also, the allow of use of funds to be applied to payment and prepayment of commercial debt and regularly scheduled payments of federal debt. So I also mentioned the 24 months deferment, and then there's the affiliation requirement that has been simplified. So an affiliate is a business that you control or in which you would have 50% or more ownership. So number 5, this is a lot. This says, I'm just going to read this verbatim since it's so much. Created an additional way to meet program size standards for businesses assigned a NAICS code, so your North American Industry Classification Code, excuse me. So these numbers, for those of you who don't know your NAICS code, reach out to myself or Ms. Merritt, and we can help you find out that information. I don't rightly know what each of these specific NAICS codes mean, but this is just an example of what is provided to us since the recent change happened on September 8th. And then also keep in mind that this change has no more than 500 employees per physical location, and that have no more than 20 locations and meet all other COVID EIDL eligibility requirements. So again, number 4, that's a lot. Reach out to us if you need some clarification. Also, the change added the $10 million limit on maximum aggregate COVID EIDL loans to a single corporate group. So entities that are part of a single corporate group, if they are majority owned, whether that's directly or indirectly or by a common parent. So some of these changes are most definitely in your favor, but they may not all apply to you, but it's good to know this information. So now we're going to go over our changes. So I mentioned the 3.75%, and that's going to be that rate for businesses, but there is a 2.75% rate for your nonprofits. So again, that repayment period is over 30 years, and your amount should be that you would be approved for. Okay, that should be enough of 24 months. And SBA will adjust deferment on the loans if you didn't receive 24 months. So again, this is not an opportunity where you'll say, okay, I need $2 million. You fill out your application, submit it to SBA, and then cross your fingers. So this is going to be all based off of information that is required for you to submit and heavily reliant upon your tax return. So your minimum credit score is 570. Also, there's no collateral and there's no personal guarantee. Let me go back to the credit. I just want to mention we're all entitled to a free credit report annually, and we get that from Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Since the pandemic is still ongoing and our economy, unfortunately, is still struggling, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, they're allowing us to have access to our credit report weekly. These are free. I recommend you go directly to the websites for all three. I'll mention them again: Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, and set up a free account. You don't have to pay for anything. Instead of using something third party like Credit Karma or what your bank might offer for online banking or a credit card, just because there could be a breach of data, and it's more secure going through Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. You're entitled to the report, but you're not entitled to the score. And I checked into this maybe 10 days ago, and all three of the credit bureaus were giving the score for free. So you shouldn't have to be paying any fee. So again, it's your report that's free, not the score. So a change here about the collateral that will be required, especially for anything, at the $200,000 range. And then also for the UCC1 and businesses, for borrowers that are involved in real estate, your minimum credit score is going to be 625. And just to go back to the 570, the reason why I recommend that you go ahead and pull your credit report, just in case you've been, a victim of identity theft and you weren't aware of it, and that's so unfortunate. Or if there's something adverse on there that you didn't know about, if you've been sent to collections, unfortunately, and you've already paid off that debt, and you agreed that it would fall off, for example, like 30 days after you've paid the debt, and it's still there. So that's adverse, that's a blemish, that's going to continue to bring the score down. So one of the reasons that a borrower may be denied for EIDL is lack of credit worthiness. And it's not to say that you most definitely have to have a 570, but if you are able to address the issues of something that is, not too appealing on the credit report, that is affecting your score, and it is lower than 570, then you'll be prepared to address that through your application process. So ways that you're able to spend the money, because we're all going to get the money, right? So you're going to have it on your payroll. So think about employees that you need to pay, or yourself if you're, a sole proprietorship. Okay. Also, just wanted to share that any employees that you would issue with a 1099, ultimately, they are able to apply for an economic injury disaster loan themselves. So you would not be counting them, as an employee. You're going to be able to pay your rent, inventory, raw materials, any variable costs, anything that's going to help you run your business. Commercial debt, payment and prepayment, federal debt, and then working capital. I will add, since it's not on this slide, doesn't mean that you can go open up a second location. It doesn't mean that you can go buy a food truck. That's not what that's for, okay? So if you have any questions about any situation, any hypothetical, reach out to us and we'll help you work through that. So this is to help you along, just to tide you over until we get out of this pandemic, and please let it be soon. But sometimes there's just a little bit of confusion about with the money. What can I do what can I do with it? Can I, do a remodel of the space that I'm in? Can I, add an addition to it? Can I buy equipment, right? So when I read to you inventory, raw materials, that can be understood to be pretty broad, right? But we don't want to be doing anything where there's a misunderstanding involved. So again, if you have any questions on, once we are approved and how we need to spend the money, please reach out to us and we'll help you figure that out. So again, some of these changes are indeed, advantageous to you as the borrower, but it may not apply to everyone, listening to us today, but it's still good information to know. Okay. So there's the affiliation rules. They've been simplified to model RRF. And the RRF was our Restaurant Revitalization Fund, which is on hold for now. Hopefully that will be replenished soon. And also to expand methods of eligibility for industries hit hard by COVID to meet program size standards. So SBA basically has a calculator where you put in some information and it'll help you determine if you are a small business or not. And it also creates a limit on total loans to a single corporate group. So I mentioned the NAICS codes to you earlier about your industry, and then also admitted to you I had no idea what those were, even though they were on the slide. So this is an example of these specifically laid out. So we see 61 here. This is educational services. 515 toward the bottom. This is broadcasting. 315, apparel manufacturing. There's a website you can go to. Maybe Jackie can share that with us to help you identify what your NAICS code is if you are not aware of it. But for these specific industries, if you are falling into one of these areas of the NAICS code, it would be for 500 or fewer employees, per physical location, and also 20 or fewer locations, including your locations of the affiliate. So this is just a very, very gracious timeline of processing the application. LaTanya probably could not have stressed this enough. When we are approved, we need money in our hand, our wallets, our pocketbooks, wherever. We need that money funded by December 31st. So again, you may think, I'll do my application today. I'll have this money by Halloween. Wishful thinking. So hopefully throughout this webinar and our interaction asking questions, we can circumvent any issues ahead of time to where you won't hit any kinks in your application process and adding more time to the processing time. For example, a thorn in everyone's side, honestly, right now is the 4506T. Jackie, is that the right form? I say it so much, sometimes I forget it. So
that is indeed correct, Ms. Gilmore. And it must be the March 2019 version, the version that's on SBA's website, because if you take the most recent one on the IRS website, which is dated March 2021, IRS will not accept it from SBA.
So, Jackie, you mentioned it has to be the March 2019 form, correct? So everyone, let's make sure we have that form. Again, other than the backlog of the processing time of IRS, trying to honor all of these requests for the tax transcripts, that's going to add more time on top of more time on top of more time. You trying to figure out, what didn't I do right? I thought I did everything correctly. I listened to Miss Merritt. I listened to Lindsay. Danielle was trying to give us all the information. I heard everything LaTanya said, and it could be weeks before you realize I sent in the wrong kind of transcript form. Okay. So it's that dire, it's that serious. It seems minor. Oh, is the wrong form. It could cost you 30 days. I'm not kidding. So let's, again, if you have any questions or you would like some assistance, hey, can you look, hey, is this the right form? Please reach out to us. I do want to share at the district office, I guess we're the plug for information. We just don't process loan applications. We don't upload documents. We don't do any of that. We are just your resource. You can reach out to us, and if there aren't answers available, we're going to find you that technical expert to help you. Okay. But yes, please.
Can you guys give us the information to reach out? I think I put the right information in the chat, but just in case, can you tell me the best phone number or email?
I'll give our main office number.
Okay.
And that's 615-736-5881.
Okay.
And you can ask for Lindsay Gilmore directly or Jacqueline Merritt. But my direct number is 615-736-5887. And my email address is lindsay.gilmore@sba.gov. And I'll spell this out for everyone. So that's LINDSAY.GILMORE@SBA.gov. I will share that you'll get a quicker response with me personally if you send an email, because I'm not able to return the volume of voicemails that I get. Mm-hmm. So I will acknowledge your voicemail. It's just I can probably respond quicker with the email.
And the form that you were talking about, that was the 4506T?
Mm-hmm. Okay, yes, it's perfect. The IRS form. So this, if you're not familiar, this is just basically just a summary of the information that you have submitted to the IRS about your tax information. So I know, it's 2021. We're looking, possibly some of you were going to looking at 2019 information and looking at 2020 information. I do not know the ins and outs of your business, but you're going to have even more processing time if after you get this information from us today and then you think, light bulb, I need to make amendments. I'm not saying that is a red flag, but there will possibly be some delays. And of course, there could be some, some concerning amendments that need to be made. Okay. But
in order for you to qualify overall, it's going to, you have to have shown a loss due to the pandemic, correct?
Yes, you do. And so initially you're showing a loss because of the pandemic. And then if you would like an increase, so if you're asking for more money, you are still showing that you are suffering. You're still suffering from an economic injury. Okay. But that is going off of your tax information. So you're able to get that information online for free, but sometimes those transcripts come back blank. And sometimes it just appears as if you've never filed taxes at all. But if you run into any issue, I know that it's been recommended by the loan officers that are, processing the application, that you are more than welcome to make an appointment with an IRS office if they are open to the public and get a certified copy of your transcripts. So, for example, I was working with a business owner here in Nashville. She had been waiting on her tax transcripts since September, and she did not get funded until January. So this is September 2020, you all, and she didn't get funded until January of 2021 because there's a hiccup about her tax transcripts. So that's all of September, all of October, all of November, all of December, for 4 months for a tax transcript. Okay. And it's just like, ooh, I'm ready to sign. I'm ready to close. I'm ready to get the money. And had she not made an appointment at the IRS office in Huntsville, Alabama, Nashville, Huntsville, drove, lady probably coasted on fumes at this point. She'd been waiting so long. Had she not gone down there, took the initiative to get what SBA was waiting on herself, we wouldn't be using her as an example. So sometimes it does, it does come to that. But hopefully it won't. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they're working through their backlog.
They are.
And I mean, I am not exaggerating about the processing time, and it can be extremely frustrating. But you also everyone just keep in mind that this is the only funding option left for you all, okay? And again, LaTanya said we need the money, in hand, deposited.
So you got to get on it today.
Like you are not the only one. I sound like a kindergartner teacher. Like you're not the only one, but.
No, I know a lot of people have told me that it was really difficult for them if they got approved at all. It was really difficult process. So I just want to reiterate what LaTanya said about, not giving up, and staying on it.
I don't know. Maybe I'm not the best truth teller. I'm not trying to discourage everyone. I'm just trying to be as transparent as possible. That this is going to, it's going to be a process within the process. Please do not get discouraged, disheartened. Do not give up. Reach out to us. We'll help you assist as best we can. So, for instance, you do everything that you were supposed to, that we talked about, that you called and got help with, right? And then you get a declination email. Sometimes some people can just be so disappointed in that. They don't continue to read down in the email and realize that there's a reconsideration process, meaning that there's an appeal, or just it could just be like a simple email to Lindsay, of course, or a phone call, a voicemail I'll eventually get to, but just reaching out to us and asking us a question. And it's like, we're, Rosetta Stone, we're going to translate. We can tell you like, oh, this is the issue. So fortunately for us at the district office, we've been able to have access to the portal in months past. Last year, we didn't have that. And then they slowly rolled it out to like managers and supervisors, and now more access to people like myself in the field. So we're able to see everything that you submit as far as your documents, but what's most helpful to us are the notes, because that's the information that's left about the processing and, where they are, what's outstanding. I'll share another example, maybe come across as a horror story, but again, you need to know this truth. So this borrower had submitted her documents 8 times. And they, SBA, I'm a part of it too, requested it a 9th time. So she was so upset, maybe thinking, am I spelling the email address wrong because it's not bouncing back? Why do they keep asking me for it? To the point where you kind of get the attitude like, forget this. It's more trouble than it's worth. I'm tired of fooling with these people. They are playing games. They're on stunts and shows. I'm not sending it in a 9th time. Had this borrower not sent it a 9th time, she would not have been funded for $174,000. So I think, Jackie, at one time, weren't we told that we are processing about 32,000 applications a day? I think that was the number that was shared with us.
Something along those lines.
Yeah. And so everybody think that was maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. That's 32 applications 3 weeks ago. And I just told you, this is it. This is the end of the road, right? So everybody's going to be funneled toward this funding option. And so those numbers will increase. And that's not necessarily new applications. It's just applications, whether they've been declined, reconsideration, if they are asking information about the targeted EIDL or supplemental EIDL advance grant that was available for a select, population of businesses and borrowers. Just know that the volume is going to increase, right? So it's imperative that we work together to get everything with, as far as your application packet goes, good, correct, A+, all types of checks, smiley faces, gold stars, all of that. So you won't have that unfortunate declination email. So I've already mentioned to you about going ahead and pulling your own credit report. That's something to do, I recommend as a best practice anyway.
Yeah. Got a good question in the comments.
Oh, okay. What's that?
If you were declined and you're now past that 6 months, I believe you have to appeal, do you just start fresh?
No, thank you for talking about starting fresh. Please do not start fresh. That will cause an issue. And what's my phrase I keep going back to? Processing time. So you're going to unfortunately have like duplicate applications on top of duplicate applications, and that's going to be wasted processing time. So even though the language says 6 months, there's been some leniency on that. And I can share the language with you. I think I have it somewhere in a FAQ, frequently asked questions document, but the leniency is, okay, it's COVID-19, right? It's a pandemic. This federal declaration is, for Tennessee and the 49 other states in the country. So there is possibly some type of, circumstance that, was a hindrance to you and why you could not appeal in a timely fashion. Okay. And you share that information. Try, even if you read, okay, it's 6 months, it's 6 months and 2 days. I'm not going to do it. So just think about.
I think I ran into an issue where I resubmitted and it was like, you have a duplicate anyway. It's a mess.
Yeah. Right.
And so, and another question, is this an opportunity for another increase if you already got an increase? So if you already have gotten an increase at some point, can you now apply and get an additional increase?
Jackie, do you know that for sure? Help us out, please.
With the processing of the 2019 business tax return, because we look at the year when things were halfway normal, what we do, we have a formula where we take the revenue minus the cost of goods sold, if you have cost of goods sold, and you come up with a figure. So let's say when the cap was $150,000, that somebody was eligible to receive $700,000. So when the cap was raised to $500,000, somebody could request a modification for an increase up to $500,000. And let's say they were eligible for $700,000. Now that the ceiling is at $2 million, they can request another increase for that remaining $200,000.
But let's say if they were only eligible for $100,000 in the first place, they probably already got that 100 and they're done.
Yes.
If once they reach that cap, they're done, right?
They have reached that limit.
Okay.
And sometimes, let's say 100,000 was approved and the ceiling was 150,000. If a person circle back and say, "Hey, my rent is $20,000 a month, so I need more than this," you could make an argument that you needed more money. It may not have been honored, but you can make an argument for it.
And your argument, everyone, is your documentation. So for the example, funded for $100,000, excuse me, Jackie, you said your cap at the time was $150,000.
Mm-hmm.
So even though you may have been eligible at that point in time and the cap has since lifted, you're still supplying the documentation for the economic injury.
So if I understand correctly, the cap has gone from 150,000 to 2 million. That's a big
Correct.
difference.
It started at 2 million, right? It started at 2 million and then it was quickly decreased in order to reach the smallest of the small businesses.
Okay.
At one point in time, it was a little confusing, also sounding, way too good to be true, like $10,000. Oh, we're going to advance you $10,000. So borrowers are thinking, oh, I'm just going to get $10,000. So it was basically kind of to tide you over while we're processing everything.
Okay.
Whether you were declined or approved, you didn't have to even really complete the process of the application. Some people didn't even want the loan. They got approved for whatever amount, whatever I don't want a loan. I just want the free, the free money. But, that in turn was further clarified to be $1,000 per employee.
So that was one of my questions, is if someone was offered, let's say they said you're eligible for $100,000 loan, and were they able to say, well, I only need 20 right now? And if so, are they now able to, and if they've now realized that they need that remaining 80,000, are they now able to go back and request it? Because I know some people were just leery about taking a loan, and really hopeful that things would kind of bounce back, but now seeing that, hey, I still need a little bit more, a little bit more money, and with the changes and the terms and all that, they may now have decided, hey, I do want to take this loan. So is this an opportunity for someone to go back and kind of increase their loan amount if they declined the full amount?
So I'm not a loan officer. And again, I don't process the applications. So that is a very charged question, because even though you were eligible, at one point in time and you did not get the full amount and you chose to take a lesser amount, it doesn't necessarily mean like the 100,000, you took 20,000, there should be 80,000 set aside for me. That doesn't mean that you will be eligible again. Right. So for example, regardless of whatever amount that you get, because some people think, yeah, I'm going to outright ask for $2 million and cross my fingers and see what they throw at me. No, you are submitting, you're submitting the documentation, right, off of your taxes. The tax transcripts is what they start with, and then you will be submitting your full tax return. So that's why I mentioned the thing about the amendments. All right, we all should be good on our taxes, not running to H&R Block to make a change, right? So we're going off of those figures and those numbers. So say you weren't eligible for 100,000, you were only funded for 20,000. You need more money. So basically, this is what we call overall the reconsideration process. So the reconsideration process is whether you've been declined or approved. They are reconsidering everything. They're looking at everything again. So it's a reconsideration. So we're thinking increase. It's a loan modification, but they have to reconsider because you are still submitting information about the economic injury that you are suffering. So that would be something to definitely discuss with the loan officer. And if anyone is, experiencing a very similar situation, and you're not getting the best response, or some information that you don't understand from disaster customer service, please reach out to us and we'll see what we can do about that. But again, because I'm not the loan officer, it's
Yeah.
just based off of our FAQs. They're
Yeah.
revisiting, not
Okay.
revisiting everything, but we're focusing on this point in time because you've already been funded for your loss of 2020.
Yeah.
So we're going forward. So we're going to look at the snapshot in time, for example, where we are now.
Yeah.
What loss have you suffered between 2020 and 2021?
Okay.
Because again, you're going to be you should have filed your taxes. I know not everyone has, but we'll be going off your 2020 tax return information at this point.
Wonderful.
Also want to add to you all, especially those who haven't applied for EIDL or EIDL yet, and sometimes on occasion it's been for those who have asked for an increase or just reconsider. Let me just stop. There may be a situation, you all, where your tax returns will be requested earlier than 2019. I was working with a borrower. They had to submit information as far back as 2015. There's just some crazy things going on with the business, change of ownership, things of that nature, bookkeeping, CPA made an error, caused a great havoc. But there may be an instance where that information has to be provided. And then also there may be an instance where you think you're going to get funded and then somehow you are declined. Please ask about that and make sure that that wasn't, a mistake. But everything is not necessarily a given until you have that money in hand. And again, that needs to be by December 31st.
So we have about 5 minutes. So I want to make sure that you're able to get through the presentation.
Right. So
any important things.
Right. Let me move my mouse. Excuse me, everybody. Just a moment. It says I stopped sharing. Hold on just a second. All right. Did the external 500,000 slide come back up?
Yep. We're back.
Great. So again, wishful thinking on these timelines, but the better prepared you are on the front end, the better experience you're going to have. We learned recently we have office hours about twice a week just to ask questions. So there are times where we'll be doing outreach like this. You'll ask me something I don't profess to know at all, and I might know it, but you're asking me on the spot, and it's like right. So we have people, internal technical experts that we reach out to and ask questions, and we do that during the office hours. And it was shared with us, for example, if you are at 123 Main Street and you spell out street on your taxes, but you abbreviate street on your SBA application, you may come back with a declination email as the unverifiable information because things are not matching up. Seems like a silly minor issue, not even a mistake. I'm just going to say an issue. And that can take weeks to rectify, to even figure out that that's what the problem was in the first place. But tentatively, it should be a 3-week timeline for loans that should be funded less than $500,000. And of course, the more money you're asking for, the more time will be spent to process. So we've always talked about this 4506T. Also, you may be submitting earlier tax returns, but you'll know that specifically if your loan officer requests it. And these are just some other pieces of information you'll have to share. I do have an FAQ document that I can share with everyone. I guess, Danielle, I can share that with you and maybe you can post it, or you all.
Absolutely. And I did drop a link in the chat for anyone who wanted to get the presentation. So I would submit your email there and I'll send out the FAQs as well. you can always message me if you need that. But again, we'll drop that link one more time in the comments, and again, fill it out and I'll get you an email out with the information.
Great. And just lastly, it just may seem like a little juvenile to be looking at a sample and do like a rough draft written in hand or something. But the less mistakes and errors that can be made on the front end, it's going to save you weeks and weeks of heartache. Okay. So again, I'm Lindsay Gilmore. If you have any questions, 615-736-5887. And Jackie, do you have anything to share that maybe I didn't cover or maybe went over too quickly?
Oh, no, a thorough job. And you shared that it is a process, and that's a very important thing to impart to the listening audience.
Oh my goodness, Danielle, I told you I'm probably not the best. I'm not trying to scare you all. I just want you to know that you're gonna earn.
No, I mean, I think I think a lot of us have experienced how frustrating it can be. I mean, even with the PPP and the PPP forgiveness, and it's been a lot, but I definitely want to encourage everyone who's tuned in to just try, at least try and try to, move through the process. You have a resource now. I'm dropping that their contact information in the chat again. So, use the resources that you have. I will also encourage you as Black business owners to get your stuff together and keep it together. So have your
bankable.
Yes, bankable. And if you aren't, I'm hosting next Monday, the 12th, a webinar in partnership with Citibank, where we're going to be talking about how to be bankable and how to go get funding from a bank. So if you are in a position where, you can't get the EIDL, but you still need funding for your business, tune in for my webinar next Monday with Citibank. If you go to the Black Business Boom website and scroll and go blackbusinessboom.com/funding, and you can register for that webinar there. But it's important that we start to take our businesses seriously, because we don't want to miss out on these opportunities because we haven't filed our taxes, or because we don't have the proper documents available. So I really want you all to, and I'm talking to myself as well, so.
Thought of one other important thing to share. These funds must be deposited into a business account. Must go to a business account. Must go to a business account. And that's part of Black businesses not being bankable and missing out. Other than the credit score and not filing taxes and thinking they're an LLC and they're not.
We have an amazing industry expert banker, Harry Allen from Studio Bank, who's also a SBA lender. So if you all do need help with getting set up with a business bank account, we have the Studio Bank team that is here to help with that as well. And they were amazing in helping me through the PPP process. So if you do have any questions on getting set up for a business bank account, go ahead and email. You can go to studiobank.com or email amelia.watts@studiobank.com, and she can help you to get set up with a business bank account, because you definitely want to have that. Because again, like Lindsay just said, you can't get the money deposited to your personal account. We see folks are going to jail over fraud and things when it comes to these PPP and EIDL loans. We want to make sure that we're doing everything on the up and up as well. And we have great resources here to help us. So again, I've dropped their email addresses and phone numbers in the chat. So make sure you reach out if you have any questions. I'm trying to get and then also you can call the main SBA office here in Nashville at 615-736-5881. There are people who are here to help you through this process, but keep in mind, these are not the loan officers. So you will not be talking to the folks that will be processing your loan or your reconsideration. So make sure that, but you're using these resources to help you prepare or help you if you do need a reconsideration. This was amazing as always, ladies. I want to encourage everyone who's tuned in to just get dialed in with the SBA office. If you're here in Tennessee or wherever you're listening from, get dialed in with your SBA office. I've had some amazing opportunities by being connected with the SBA office. I've been involved in an amazing program here that's run virtually. It's just been great having a relationship with the SBA office, and these ladies are here to help you. So take advantage of that. See what programs they have. When they are hosting virtual or in-person events, make sure you're registering and showing up. It's important for our Black business owners to be in tune and not miss out on the opportunities. So again,
I just want to quickly share, I lead a curriculum that was created by FDIC with us here at SBA called Money Smart for Small Business. And it's like, starting the business from square one. And if you're established, it's good information for you as well. Just reach out to me and I can get you that information. But it's part of our job to make sure all businesses are bankable.
I love it. It's fantastic. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Again, if you want to catch the replay, it's live on all the Black Business Boom pages, including the Black Business Boom YouTube page, Facebook page, and I'll get it up on our IG within the next 24 hours. So if you need to catch the replay, do that. I also dropped a link in the chat for if you like more information or you like those FAQs, and I'll get those emailed out to you all as well. All right, you guys. Well, everyone have a wonderful day. And thanks again, Lindsay and Jack, for all of your support.
having us. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.